welcome everyone to the stream. My name is Ken and I am the host of the Ikwanas Tahab. And today we're going to be reading the Grimoire of Saint Cyprian, if I also have it here. Yeah, I do. The Grimoire of Saint Cyprian. So, the Grimoire of Saint Cyprian is a mystical Christian text. It's a mystical Christian grimoire that is attributed to the Antiochus Saint Cyprian. He reigned from the 3rd century. However, this actually came from like it circulated around the 19th century, so it's fairly recent in comparison to where it's talking about. But yeah, today we're gonna be reading the Grimoire. Oh, by the way, hope y'all like the Cheech and Chong shirt too. We're gonna go casual today. You know, put our hood on. You know, got the hematite ring. For anybody who types in chat, I have a singing bowl as well. I don't know where the striker for it is, but hopefully this can strike it. Yeah, okay, there we go. That works. So, we're gonna be hopefully taking notes during this process too. And anyone who types in chat gets a strike of a singing bowl 3 times. So that's what it'll sound like. I had a striker for it, but it disappeared. I want to see if this water bottle works. Oh, welcome to the channel. You get a strike of a singing bowl to essentially get you to come forward. Yo, this feels like a more raw sound. I have like a wooden striker to like strike the singing bowl with, but I lost it, so I have to use this pen. And for some reason, I like the sound it produces with the pen more. I like with the wooden striker. I'm taking note of that. So yeah, thank you for typing in chat. Anyone who else wants to strike up a singing bowl can just type in chat, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, Grimoire of Saint Cyprian. I might as well read the back of the book in case any of y'all are unfamiliar. Hello, welcome to the stream. The Grimoire of Saint Cyprian was translated from the Spanish version entitled Libro de San Cipriano. Hopefully I didn't butcher that as badly. Circa 19th century, and refers to different grimoires from the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries, all pseudographically attributed to the 3rd century Saint Cyprian of Antioch. According to popular legend, Cyprian of Antioch was a pagan sorcerer who converted to Christianity. Yeah, you get a strike for entering the chat, by the way. But yeah, we're gonna get started now with reading the Grimoire of Saint Cyprian. Also, I have a somewhat of a setup kind of going on here, so yeah. I actually already read a little bit into it, folks, and I already read a little bit into it, and this is kind of stuff that I basically like. Welcome. This is stuff that I basically. Oh, Tyrone, what's good? Welcome to the stream. Oh, love, bro. Best. Hey, man, no one's asking you to be in the stream, bro. But what's it called? Yo, we got the condemning from the Orthodox people already. Let's go. We got the condemning from the Orthodox people already. Let's go. You know, funny enough, that person's speaking in Arabic, but there's an Arabic talisman in this text, actually. There's an Arabic talisman here. I'm gonna find it just because you're speaking in Arabic. I skimmed through this text, so I know a little bit about where to find certain things. Okay, okay, I think I remember this one now. Huh, what? This talisman, hold up. This talisman basically has Arabic on it. I think it's actually on the right side, actually. Yeah, there it is. There it is, buddy. There you go, you got it. Nakir, the greatest among the prophets who have devoted their life to the study of the magical sciences and the progress of humanity. Haha. Why are you in the stream then? Why are you in the stream then, buddy? You must be interested. If you know it's haram. Why are you in the stream then? Yeah. We gonna read the Grimoire of Saint Cyprian though. I would just time them out, but I want people to know that I don't censor people. Gabriel Benoit Pylon, welcome to the stream. You get a strike of a singing bowl for contributing to the chat. Kurumi lover, welcome to the stream. You get a strike of a singing bowl. Buddy, I'm gonna time you out. If bro, you can take your religious fundamentalism elsewhere. This is for the chosen mysticists only. If you're here, you are chosen to fulfill a specific purpose. This is not for people who stand in line. It's for people who walk out of the line. This is gonna distract me, so I'm gonna just time you out. Boop. Okay. To the faithful readers, here I present a book of invaluable value, The Complete Treaty of True Magic, written by the German monk Jonah Cyprian. My fondness of this kind of work always leads me to dig through the piles of old books, eager to find something that was little known in this area. After many years of tiring research, my efforts have been rewarded. The finding of the complete treaty of true magic filled me with immense satisfaction. I found it among others of different species in the small bookstore of a village priest. It was written in German language for me completely unintelligible, but by some figures that were interspersed in the text, and by some proper names dotted here and there, I deduced that the strange book was about magic. Tell him to translate a scholar who has carried out his work with utmost scrupulousness. Read the translation to me. I have seen this booklet that is actually invaluable, composed by the aforementioned Juric monk Jonas Soferino, librarian of the convent of Broken Mountain, where, according to the ancient levels, the devils or witches celebrate their covens and their macabre dance. It turned out to be a rich treasure of true magic. This booklet contains, in effect, the most essential that is usually found in those kinds, such as the Book of Saint Cyprian, the Calvicide of Solomon, Innovations, Patent Exorcisms, and the Black Hand or Schools of Spells, the Great Grimoire of the Pact, Magic Candles to discover enchantments, are a compilation of Chaldean or Egyptian magic, filter enchantments, sorcery, and spells. With the above, it will be enough to understand that this is a book of exceptional importance, and that if studied with any real interest, many useful and useful things can be learned. It only remains for me to recommend that the great care be taken in the way and time to do experiments so that they give the desired results. Since it should not be forgotten that a small detail is often enough to render the operation prepared better. Chapter 1. Knowledge necessary to exercise the magical arts. That person, male or female, who wants to dedicate his spirit to the magical art must have a true vocation for it, putting all his will and good faith in his exercises and practices. It is very important that you do not forget that the spirits whom you invoke read your thoughts, and if you do not invoke with all your senses and without distracting in the least your attention from the work you are doing, instead of attending to your invocation, they will be punished in their recklessness for the same spirits whom they have bothered to call or agree with. You should also keep in mind that invocations cannot be made where there are blessed crosses or signs. The person who wants to do the experiments must be absolutely alone, unless accompanied by a person initiated in the art and that has made a pact with some entity. The most suitable place to make invocations will always be the top of a mountain, at whose skirt a river circulates, ensuring that there are no higher ones in its contours. If this could not be, we would look for a place near a river, where two paths intersect, forming four paths that go in opposite directions. Okay, so that's something that's pretty interesting right there. I don't know if y'all caught that, but it just says right here that you should not keep in mind that invocations cannot be made where there be blessed crosses or signs. But then it says that the most suitable place to make a invocation is in two paths intersecting to make four paths. What's the Weezer riff? Also, so four paths, like two paths converging together to make four paths, is a cross. So it's saying don't make invocations over crosses, but then it's saying make an invocation where there's a cross. Like, this is already like interesting me a little bit in terms of like what it's saying. But yeah. It's absolutely necessary that the river be very close to the point of invocation. Oh damn, they came back. Welcome. Welcome and goodbye. Rip. Is that all who's gonna come into chat today? That sucks. It's okay. They be giving us traction in the algorithm. That's how I like to see it. It's okay because they give us traction in the algorithm. But yeah. In the event that for reasons of health or for any other reason it is not possible to execute the invocation outside the home, It will be necessary to choose a solitary room covered with cloth on all walls and ceilings. After that, the window will be open and following sentence will be said. The place for the experiments is prepared. There is nothing blessed or religious signs or in it. My soul is completely free of divine spirit and willing to make a pact with Averno, which I will invoke with all my will and without obeying anyone's mandate or imposition. It is necessary that they do not feel any fear at the time of the appearance of the spirit, because if they are fearful, they expose themselves to be tormented. He who appears as a whole, the true initiate, must be reckless. Therefore, one who is afraid, he does not execute the invocation with the true faith that the light requires, and those who have to agree with him, and punishes with the countless sufferings and sometimes with death to the daring who wants to make toys of his deceptions. For the invocations to have true strength, it would be inconvenient to possess some talisman or amulet with the Kabbalistic science of the Calvicile. Okay. Okay. And make the layout of the great circle without forgetting the above warnings. And a section corresponding to invocations and spells be found, the explanations and the way of executing them. So I'm gonna be making a video about this, but there's a language called the alphabet of daggers that essentially like will talk about how certain assortment of blades and like a specific like formation makes letters. So I used the alphabet of daggers to basically decode like what these assortment of swords basically translates to. Yeah, that's a video idea that it's in the that was a weak wrist flick, bro. I'm sorry. That y'all did not witness what I just did there. I'm just going through like the more like how do I say this? I'm just going through the more like modern parts of the text, if that makes sense. I've already read some of these, that's why. So yeah. Okay. So I will say what I am skimming through though. I will explain that. So this is meant to set you up with the system itself. This is meant to set you up with the process. And chapter 2 is the instruments that you can use for each day of the week and for each like specific weekday or weekend day. So just like the necessary components and like requirements, but obviously, what's it called? Obviously, there's like a deeper meaning behind this stuff that I will be tackling at a later date. But yeah, this so far what we're dealing with is we're dealing with like the attire, the tools, the components, like this is like the base stuff. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna tackle that at a later time because those have deep symbology in them. There's like a lot of deep symbology in them. You just gotta get used to the language in there. Ceremonial to be used by the one who has already begun the initiation. By the way, this is chapter 4. Okay. Yeah, chapter 4, sorry. Ceremonial of magic. This part is very convenient to be done very accurately because it's convenient for the initiate to go through the 3 phases, which are desire, perseverance, and dominance. The first belongs to the initiation, or E, to desire, to learn. The second is the initiate who needs the perseverance to reach the end. And third to the master who the true magician see has achieved the absolute dominion of the air. That is very interesting too. Why specifically does the why specifically does the adept have a dominion over the element of air? Like why every other element but air, right? That's something to ruminate on. I'm gonna definitely write that down. But yeah. Desire, salt, perseverance, Mercury, and then dominance, sulfur. Thank you. Yeah. Um. So in traditional alchemy, there are three major processes that go through. There is the process of salt, and there's the process of mercury, and there's the process of sulfur. So in this text, we get a three phases of the initiate, which is desire, perseverance, and dominance. Now, these three specific processes that are enlisted in the Grimoire of Saint Cyprian sound very reminiscent of the three processes of alchemy. So, yeah, it's important to know that if you look at what's the like the best way to I say like comprehend like reading a spiritual text is by basically like looking at the essence of the archetype rather than always looking at like the literal word, if that makes sense. So learning how to read it in between the lines, and like I guess like it's something that you kind of that like naturally comes into how do I say this, into fruition when the more you read. It's hard to explain, but the more you read and the more you get into a book, the more be able to like draw referential parallels to where the information might be relevant to, if that makes sense. But yeah, you get a pin. You get a pin. Let's see. That's sick. Yo, awesome. What do you guys think of the background? Pretty cool, right? Ah, awesome. Anyways, Chapter 4, Ceremony of Magic. It should not be forgotten that to achieve the desired jet or bee, one must proceed in absolute vocation and good faith, because if the practices are done with a bastard end, the results will be null and perhaps contrary to the purpose sought. Ceremonial to be used by the one who has already begun the initiation. Once you have prepared all the art instruments, dresses, and other equipment, you will need to prepare a place on purpose for the experiments you have to perform. Do not forget that this place must be and that it should not enter any person who has not previously made an agreement with any of the spirits. You must ensure that there are two windows, one to the east and one to the west, and that is the highest part of the house. It will cover all its walls with black cloth, being very careful that no blessed object or religious symbol or figure, anything that from the cross is found in it, or in a nearby place. To understand the importance of these observations, I go to refer to an event that occurred to the famous wizard Athotis, and that was the cause of his death. So Athotis, okay. The cross is an amulet that makes the best magical operations useless. It had a perfectly prepared room with its two corresponding windows, which were well placed and closed. This is pretty interesting. I wonder what it really means by the cross. I really wonder. Like, does it really mean like the actual cross? Like, I don't think so. It happened that in the quarrel in the city of his residence there was a death, and the matador, to avoid being known, threw the dagger with all his strength and went to nail to go into one of the windows of the room that Adolphus had mentioned had further practices. A few days after this event, he had the precision to make some spells and invocations, and by more willingness that he put into his work, they did not give him any results. Desperate and not knowing the cause to which this was due, he had to resign himself for the reason that the sun was already rising over the horizon. He spent caviloso all day and night to return to prepare his work in a methodical order. He provided himself with the most powerful talismans, made a spell of energy and will, but nothing. The spirits did not come to his call. Completely desperate, he cursed them all, and it was not yet 2 hours that he was imprisoned by the authorities and accused of the murder that another had done. The entire house was searched, and on the occasion of the sun rising, it was seen from another window by a minion that the dagger that was nailed. When he learned of that circumstance, he understood that the cost of uselessness in his spell for the last 2 nights was because the cross was formed in the dagger, and it was not possible for the spirits to save the obstacle. Buddy, this is ancient history. It's a pretty interesting take on what the prerequisites are um for practicing a ceremony and practicing an operation. I like to know where this is coming from. You know, there's obviously like mysteries in this. You know, there's mysteries in this. Welcome all to this stream. My name is Ken. I'm the host of the Ikwan of Sahaba, the Brethren of Gold. And yeah, we're reading the Grimoire of Saint Cyprian. Cheers. Yeah. It's a pretty successful life so far. Oh, someone's sending hearts in the chat. Yay. Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate that. Welcome all to the stream. Welcome all new viewers. We're just learning about. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna continue reading. I don't want to get sidetracked. As generally in all the towns and all the times, all the bad things that others do to those dedicated to the mysterious ark is attributed. It was not worth at the poor authorities to want to demonstrate its absolute innocence, because before arriving at the jail was executed by the populace, perhaps prompted perhaps by the true perpetrator, to avoid clarifying the fact that innocence was known, which was exposed to being imprisoned from one moment to another. The novice, to be able to do the experiences, invocation, and spells, must first be free from prejudices, have his imagination clear of all thoughts that are not dedicated to the work that they are going to execute. It will be washed with clear river water, then perfumed with the pink and lily powders of Florence. Then when washing will say, "Purify this water, so I'm going to use, O powerful Adonai, so that in my turn I will be purified and clean in order to be worthy to be able to contemplate you all in your majesty and beauty." Amen. So once the face and the head are washed, you will dry very calmly and rest, and then you will take the rose and lily powders from the thumb and index finger on the left hand and put them on the neck and beard. Also, the dresses are perfumed, and when putting on each garment, it will be said, "Adonai's thanks are placed on one person with equal will and affection as I cover my body with this garment that I have prepared with all roots of art, in order to make myself worthy of the spirits whom I invoke, so be it." Once he is covered with all the garments, he will say, "In this solemn hour, I want you to invoke with all my will for my good wish to you, excellent spirits that accompany me in my work. Astroshio, Asat, Bedroom, Baal, Falut." I'm gonna search these all up later. And Arbitel? Whoa, that's pretty interesting. So the Arbitel is basically a spirit in this. But yeah. So that you are conducive to me and enlighten me in those things that my human intelligence cannot understand, with true clarity, supplying those defects that in my works are there, and attention to my good desire and will, so be it. After practicing what has been said, you can proceed to execute the work you want. Invocation of the same for the novice as for the initiate or teacher. Only the practices in which the novice must use the supplication, the initiation, persuasion, and the master the domain or command are distinguished. This may vary, however, depending on the character, value, and energy of the person practicing. Chapter 5. Essential qualities to profess the magical arts. Magic, like all sciences, undoubtedly require very special conditions and people who dedicate themselves to their study and knowledge. For this reason, it is. Oh, we've only been streaming for half an hour. Let's go. For this reason, it is convenient to make a thorough examination of the faculties that one possesses in order to achieve the desired fruit and how many jobs are practiced. In the first place, it is necessary to have a true desire and vocation, because if it is not, it is useless that it intends to achieve anything, since it will take the matter by mere hobby and will not put all its will and energy in the works that it realizes. Secondly, it is necessary that great attention be paid to prepare everything that you intend to do as well, since any detail that is missing or distracting you should be detrimental to the work itself, exposing you not to achieve the results you are looking for. A constant study of natural things is also required in order to reach through their investigation the true knowledge of the supernatural, which is the end and object of the which is the end and object of the magical arts. Another of the things that have to be taken into account is that by no means should it be revealed to anyone who is not add up to these sciences the supernatural things that come to be known. With that said, it will be enough for each one to judge if they are willing and if they have the qualities that are required. They want to be like that and having courage and recklessness, they will achieve as much as they want. But on the other hand, if he lacks faith or courage, or if he does not put all his will in the work, then he should not expect any positive results, exposing himself instead to what happens to him least expected. The true magician must therefore be studious, discreet, and constant in his work. You should very especially put all your faith as well as you do, having resignation when some inconvenience arises, or not at all would get what you seek. The spirits are not always propitious to resort to invocations of mortals, and sometimes it is necessary to repeat the call, conjuring them again to present themselves, and conjuring them if they do not attend, with some talisman or amulet that possesses sufficient dominion. They have the table of contents at the back of the book for some reason. I think that's very strange. The table of contents is at the back of the book. Have you ever read a book like that? Have you ever read a book where the table of contents is at the back of the book? Like, that's so strange. Sorry, y'all. Chapter 6. What is the way to make the ink which is with the right with which to write the covenant prayers, etc. The covenant should not be written in ordinary ink. Each time a call to spirits to be made, the ink must be changed. You will put in a new pot with river water the powders I'm going to describe to you. Take alberchico bones without removing the almonds. Okay, this is a more like a preparational thing. Let me see. Interesting. Okay, this is like a preparational thing. Oh my god, yo, they got their own planetary system in there. This is sick. Okay. Chapter 7 of the prayers and the virtues of the planets. It's very convenient to know the hours that each planet dominates in the universe, and the experiments that must be done according to the planet that governs. For this purpose, the following table should be kept in mind, which is arranged according to the importance of each day. Sol Day, Saturn dominates Saturday. Zedex, Jupiter dominates Thursday. Madime, Mars dominates on Tuesday. Zeman, the Sun dominates on Sunday. Hoyos, Venus dominates on Friday. Coco, Mercury dominates on Wednesday. And Zeb. Oh, hey Anna, what's up? You gotta strike up the bell to enter the stream. Entering the stream. welcome to the stream, Anna. You are always welcome here. Yeah, they have their own. They have their own. What's it called? Planetary system and the Grimoire of Saint Cyprian. So, yeah, I'm hyped. I'm super hyped. This next year is going to be so fun, guys. Like, we're gonna have so much fun next year. I'm excited for next year. Look at Anna showing love. So inspirational. Very inspirational. Experiments should always be done at night from 12 o'clock onwards, and experiments should always be done at night from 12 o'clock onwards, and as regards to invocations and spells. In order to discover hidden treasures, mines, waters, the morning hour should be used from daybreak until before sunrise. Okay, so Fajr time, okay. So experiments, according to the Grimoire of Saint Cyprian, experiments should always be done at night from 12 o'clock onwards, and as regards invocations and spells. Okay, so it's telling us to invoke from. Okay, this is pretty interesting. This is pretty different from Golden Dawn stuff. I like this. In order to discover hidden treasures, mines, waters, etc., the morning hour should be used from daybreak until before sunrise. That one specifically, that one is Fajr time in the Islamic faith. So, yeah. The hours of Saturn, Mars, Venus are good for speaking to spirits. Mercury is to find stolen things, hidden treasures, waters, and mines. Jupiter is to call the souls to who are dead. Those of the moon and the sun have special virtues. So it can be said that they serve all experiments in general. Okay, nice. So one thing that kind of like speaks out to me is that Jupiter hours are to call the souls of those who are dead. That to me is pretty interesting. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. Okay, anyways, it is very necessary to have great faith and absolute will when executing the invocations or any other spell, ensuring that no detail is missing in order to ensure that the occasion is well done. We will not tire of warning that any circumstance, however insignificant may seem, can spoil the magical operation in which I would need to start again. How to run the experiments. Chapter 8. Once the person who has to carry out an experiment has all the necessary knowledge and sufficient vocation and faith, he must prepare those instruments that will serve him in the operation, which they will perfume, invoking for them the magical virtues of the following sentence. And this is a prayer basically. Said the previous sentence and prepared all the instruments, you can go on to execute the various experiments indicated below. Flight experience. This experiment should be executed and stated in the hours of the planet after 12 at night before starting the work, and once everything is prepared, the following invocation will be said. Ata Milek Nigaliona Asernalak Basomion Ais Saramelakin Baral Elmod Ejem Jemos To all you relentless spirits who know all things hidden in our sight, to you invisible spirits which you will contrast, traverse the sky and everything created. Oh hey Toy Pups, how are you? Welcome to the stream. But yeah, um, I may, so that I may know the strength and effectiveness of the experiment. I also come to you, O magnanimous Kados, Eloi, Zeneoth, and Adonai, pleading reverently you endow me of the virtue necessary for me to perfect this work that I wish to execute and bring to fruition. After saying these words, the sword will be taken with the left hand, presenting it successively to the four cardinal points, that is east, west, midday is south, I guess. East, west, midday, and north. And it will be said at the same time, the time has come for this experiment to end. There is nothing to bind me to the earth. I just need you spirits invoked at the supreme moment. Adorn me with the impalpable and powerful wings to navigate by your side. Jot, jot, jot. Order the spirits to fulfill my desire. You will extend your hands to the air, close your eyes, concentrating all your spirit on the flight that soon you will be able to notice perfectly that you're running. During the trip, you will not care to open your eyes, because if you forget this detail, you will fall irredeemably from the height where you were, and it will surely be the last moment of your life. We want this experience to end, you will say. Stop my journey and rest my feet again at the same point where I left. At the moment, you will notice that you are already on the ground, and then you can open your eyes without any care. For this experiment, it is convenient to prepare a large glass of wine. Yo, what? Yo, that's pretty interesting. It's this transmutation spell. Of the invisibility experience? Yo, okay, I'm gonna have to read that a little bit later. I'm just skimming through these because they're pretty interesting ones. They're all like operations. I like this. Okay. I'm gonna skip the operations because let's be real, we're not gonna do them, right? And so, yeah, chapter 9. Useful explanations about experiments and invocations. We will not finish this section without first making some necessary indications for good result of the experiences expressed in the previous chapters, as well as for those that are exposed in the course of the book. Invocations to the celestial and aerial spirits, it is convenient to make them in clear and serene weather, and to the terrestrial and infernal ones in stormy weather and overcast the sky of clouds. The nature of the spirits being varied, the way they are presented is also varied. Thus, those who are aerial in nature are presented in the form of air, those of an aquatic nature in the form of rain, those of fire surrounded by flame, the celestial ones in beauteous luminous form. Even though it's to be presumed that spirits can be found at any point in the universe when invoking, it is worth knowing that the ordinary residence in the east for spirits aerial, south for aquatic, north for cold, and the west for fire temperatures. Okay, there's different cardinal representations and the Grimoire of St. Cyprian as well. Okay. I'm gonna keep all this in mind, y'all. I'm clocking all of this so I can make a thorough video on this topic. So yeah. Invocations must always be made towards the four cardinal points of the universe so that they have the necessary efficacy, since it is the safest way to get right with the place where the spirits are found whose appearance is requested. Oh, sick! Yo, this is some nice artwork. I'm looking at some artwork right now, y'all. One of the most wonderful is the one that serves you to attract the spirits of Venus and achieve the person you want or want to be loved. Her virtue is such that if she were held back so that she could not come to see you, by invoking the talisman ordering for real will, she, she will make the beloved person come to your side. At the moment you achieve your wish, he must, however, keep this in mind. I want to show the origin of my immense power, and in the case one day you can find usefulness in this knowledge. I must tell you that I have acquired all my wisdom through the exercise of the magical arts, to which I will always have a great inclination. But if the higher spirits had not endowed me with a clear intelligence, they had not been as benign as they always show themselves, I would have never reached the height where I am. One night I remember it well. I did my experiments with great will, requesting from supreme spirits the gift of wisdom and knowledge of all things. To my pleas, the admirable Adonai was presented with all its beauty and splendor, surrounded by other spirits, radiating a wonderful charity of his whole being, and said to me, O beloved son Solomon, your plea and invocations have been welcomed, and an attention that you have not asked for riches, nor lived many years, nor the ruin or damage of your enemies, but only the wisdom and knowledge of created things, and for this reason that you wish will be granted to you. From this moment I can assure you that there has not been nor will exist in this world who can stand up to you both in wisdom and in wealth and in power. I gave the great and beautiful Adonai the greatest signs of gratitude. My eyes clouded with tears when I raised them again. To contemplate him, I observed that he had disappeared, not remaining of that beautiful vision, but as a luminous gust. From that moment there was such a change in my intelligence that there was no thing I thought, however hidden, that I did not see out clearly. Now, my son, it only remains for me to tell you that if you are to achieve the favor of your higher spirits, you must be patient, humble, and resigned, bearing in the mind that they will grant you whatever you ask with good will, and whenever they understand good use of his gifts, if they do not grant it to you, it will be because your heart will not find it clean or pure enough, or because it was not appropriate for you to grant it. As a father, I have a duty to put you in a position to acquire. As a father, I have a duty to put you in a position to acquire all kinds of knowledge, for which I give you this book, which is the one that gave me the means to acquire the wisdom I possess. Read it carefully, practice with faith everything that is indicated in it, and perhaps you will achieve everything you desire. But the spirits whom you invoke will not be propitious to grant you their gifts. This is not why you are sad, for it will be proof that they do not deem it convenient to access your desires, which should persuade you that their infinite wisdom is doing so. It preserves you from many dangers that might happen to you. These wise advices the great kings gave to his firstborn son, being at the end of his life, must be constantly engraved in the memory of those who follow the study and practices set forth in the pages of his treaty. Wow, that's sick. It's a Solomonic manifesto. That's really sick. Yo, that's actually pretty cool. There's some pictures here now, y'all. Yeah, I'm gonna turn off the green screen so y'all can see the pictures. But first talisman of the sun, second talisman of the sun is right here. First talisman of the sun, second talisman of the sun. This is the third talisman of Venus. Sick, right, Anna? There's more. There's more, folks. There is more. We get some straight visuals now. So if y'all are into more like visual kind of like things, yo guys, I just had an idea. What if we got GPT to digitize these images? You know how sick that would be? That would be so freaking sick, right? Yo, what if we got GPT to make digital versions of these images? That would be pretty sick. That would be pretty sick. Like, you know how like ChatGPT has like a image generator? What if we like made what if we made like a like this specifically I think would look nice in like a GPT image form. Like what if like we got a GPT to like make like a like a modernized version of this picture basically is what I'm trying to say. Like I want to see how it would do. That that's probably the next gimmick video I'll do is the Grimoire Saint Cyprian. That's sick. That's awesome, dude. That's freaking awesome, dude. I would love to see what it does with that picture. No, Anna, wouldn't you agree that this picture would look super sick in like modern form? Like this picture would look super sick if it was like modernized, basically. I think it looks awesome. It looks freaking awesome. Yo, I'm having so much fun reading this. Dude, this is like the best $20 I ever spent. This is like so much fun. I'm having a lot of fun like understanding like a little bit more of like how they're like incorporating the the magical elements and the stuff. Like yeah. Grimoire of Saint Cyprian, folks. Of the talismans. Just looking at this is a long book. This is a long book. Whoa! Anna, look! I was just like skimming through the text. I was just skimming through the text, yo. Dude, Anna, look! It's a zodiac wheel for the solar zodiac. That's fire. This is sick. Yo, this is actually some nice visuals. Some this Look at that chat. Look. That's amazing. Clock it. Clock it indeed, Anna. Clock it indeed. It's a surprise seeing you on stream. Is Nova up? You think you can get Nova to come in? This would be amazing. I'd love to hear his insight on things. Okay, nice. Thanks, Anna. I appreciate it. Respects. Whoa, it goes into talismans now. That's sick. The gnomes. This is sick. So I'm just like, how do I say this? Anna, look. It's your boy. It's your boy. It's your boy. Huh? Huh? It follows you everywhere. That's crazy. Okay, the red dragon. Okay. All right, guys. We're gonna. I just cut through the whole fluff of the text. Now I just cut through like a lot of the text basically. There's a lot of stuff in this, but I want to read the like more readable parts of the text, if that makes sense, because time is scarce, and like we could just get lost in the book, and we could just get like about I get the gist of it. I get the gist of it. So yeah. Anyways, second part, the red dragon, the infernal goat, chapter 1, the red dragon of Moses and Solomon. Moses was the chief of the Hebrews who lived in Egypt at the time of Pharaoh. Forced to redeem his people, he had to put into play a series of marvelous wonders, and finally the passage of the Rajah Sea, which he did by separating the waters. When all the Israelites were already safe, the sea returned to its normal state, leaving the Pharaoh and his troops going in its pursuit. The wise Moses possessed the science of true magic of the Egyptians, and from it he used to turn a wooden rod into a snake. It also produced plagues from Egypt and many other extraordinary events. The passage of the Red Sea was such a wonderful fact that there are still those who question it. However, there's no choice but to surrender to the evidence, because if the Red Sea had not passed, the Hebrews could have not settled in Judea. What is ignored, and that is why we want to make it known, is the following story taken from a treatise of true magic that we have been translating. Moses, residing in Egypt, saved from the waters of the Nile in a miraculous way by the king's daughter. His natural talent made him soon master all sciences of the Egyptians. When I could already teach everyone, he entered into desires to know the magic sciences, and to achieve it, he became a disciple of the high priest and the high priest named. Yo, that's crazy. Let's see. I'm gonna try to zoom into it. Oh, I don't need to do this. I don't need to do this. I can switch camera like this. Whoa! What the hell? Anna Charles's. Yo, it's hilarious. It's crazy, scary, spooky, hilarious. Crazy, scary, spooky, hilarious. That's funny. The high priest. Awesome. That's a lot of signs I'm seeing today. Wow. That's a lot of signs I'm seeing. Oh, another thing, Anna. Oh, okay, no, never mind, never mind. I was about to say too much. Yeah, I was about to say too much. I remember. Good spiritual hygiene. But yeah, who was at that time the wisest of all magicians? Oh, wisest of all magicians. Let's go. Moses was known by the son of the waters. The magician priest, seeing his great disposition for the study of true science, taught him how much he knew with much affection, which taken advantage by Moses was soon ready to give lessons to his own teacher. This one had among its talismans and amulets a small red dragon, rare object of carved metal, and to which he held in high esteem. Moses, being initiated into all the secrets of magic, was also concerned with talismans and amulets, being able to examine at with the small museum of his old teacher. Nothing, however, caught his attention as much as the little red dragon, and intending to know the virtues of such a rare object, urged the magician to indicate it. This was not made to beg, because he really wanted to make his disciple aware of the mystery about the dragon contained, which he did as follows. My dear Moses, he said, this dragon that attracts your eyes so much is a symbol of your own person. Moses burst into an exclamation of amazement at these words, and told them that he did not understand the relationship that might exist between this talisman and him. It is very simple, and precisely this dragon that, like you, is the son of the waters, has helped me to attract your steps to the temple of true wisdom. Yes, Moses repeated, you would not believe that an object like this would influence you from the moment you were thrown into the Nile until the present time, and likewise until the rest of your life. Overwhelmed, Moses was left with what he heard, and that he did not believe there was anything in the world capable of causing him admiration. He wanted to know the relationship that the little dragon had with him, and how he had come to the old man's power. You must know, he said, that at the time you were thrown into the river by your mother, fulfilling the command of Pharaoh to kill the firstborn children of the Israelites, this little dragon took you under his protection, making that the basket where you were thrown into the Nile will overflow with waters. He also influenced the mood of Thermutis, the king's daughter, so that at the time he would go to the river and enter into a desire to see what was contained in the wicked basket and the wicker basket that was sailing on the water, and he was finally the that prompted her to pick you up and make you raise, giving me at the same time certain signs of everything I have done in your gift. Now and after what you already know, you will not miss the great influence that this little dragon has exerted on you. He was also the one who suggested the desire to come to my house to learn the magic sciences, and he will finally give you power so that by virtue you will see someday everything that you crave, however extraordinary and wonderful it may be. I am already quite old, he continued, and because of your goodness and wisdom, you have become worthy of all my love. I want to give you this precious talisman that will give you absolute dominion over the spirits and elements of the universe. With him there will be nothing impossible for you, since everything will bend at your command. What do I charge you greatly in that every day the sun rises to say the following words, Jobse Jalma Afia, which is the invocation of the higher spirit presiding over everything, and to which you must render worship. These words will give the dragon a great camphor, a grain of camphor, pure and unmixed. That is the sign of the grain of wheat. Moses gave the elder Anacharsis great signs of gratitude, and taking his little red dragon, said goodbye to the old man, promising him that all his empire going forward would be to faithfully fulfill his advice and teachings and devote all his power to procuring the freedom of Israelites who at the time were slaves of the Egyptians, which he achieved after many wonderful events. Give me a second, guys. Just gonna get some food. But we're almost done, folks. We're almost done reading the Grimoire of St. Cyprian. Yeah, I had to get some food. Sorry. Yeah, we got about 17 pages left in the text. Yeah, thanks for tuning into the stream, folks. But we got around 17 pages left in the text, and then yeah, pretty much got the Grimoire Saint Cyprian down. Not to a T, but Reader's Digest version of the text, basically. Chapter 2: Divination through bodies, celestial, or astrology. And many ancient peoples, such as the Chaldeans and Egyptians, practiced the science of astrology, which consists in the examination of celestial bodies. Of those people passed to the Greeks and those to the Italian countries, for where they came to we. But where he has practiced and preserved with greater veneration has been in Arabia. Let's go! Okay, nice. Astrology consists of the influence of the stars on human bodies. This is what distinguishes it from astronomy. According to Herodotus, a famous historian of Greek antiquity, it was the people of Oriente who began to relate the birth of a person of a certain day of a certain planet to get a horoscope out of this, by means of which he predicted his fortune to the newborn subject, his destiny and events of life, and by virtue of what accident he would abandon this moon where it had arrived. Here is the opinion of the ancients about the planets in relation to the horoscopes. Sun, prodigy of generosity and well-being, whose rays produce happiness, benefits, and business, profit, success, inheritance. Moon presides over dreams. Your domain refers to a legal profit. Mars, it has great influence in fighting, disputes, and prisons. Mercury, which is Anna, you're Mercury because you're a Gemini. I'm Venus because I'm what's it called? God of merchants and thieves, dominates diseases and influences pecuniary losses. Jupiter, produce all riches and beautiful actions, give honor and earthly greatness. Uh, Venus, he presides over tender and affectionate feelings, grants benevolence and numerous offspring. Saturn announces coldness and sadness and dominates the science of monuments. All planets are endowed with good and bad influences. Astrologers divide the sky into 12 parts, to which they gave the name of the zodiac signs or the houses of the planets. These divisions in science are Aries of the butcher, Easter angle that represents the house of life. Oh, this is sick. Yo, this is sick. The Ram and the Scorpio are the beloved houses of Mars. Okay, the Bull and Libra. Okay, nice. I'm familiar with this. Okay. Mars, finding the day of birth makes enemies triumph. Saturn increases work and predisposes to diseases. Okay. Now we see the qualities of the planets in the zodiacal constellations. These qualities or properties are. Oh, you want to know fourth house Cancer? Okay, yeah. Cancer, it is the house of treasures and property by succession, the angle of the earth and the bottom of the sky. Yeah, that's what fourth house Cancer is. This is pretty interesting. I like this. Oh, okay. Okay. Nice. Oh, your Mercury's in Cancer. Okay. Sick. Let's see. Now we see the qualities of the planets in the zodiacal constellations. These qualities or properties are useful to know to draw the consequences of their proximity or conjunctions. Here they're according to Indagnine's calculations. Mars, finding the day of birth, makes enemies triumph. Saturn increases work and predisposes to diseases. Venus makes one cheerful, sweet, and agile. Mercury gives the grace of knowledge, eloquence, all kinds of subtlety. Moon makes lazy, weak in spirit and body. Sun seeks renown, strength, and justice. Jupiter grants beauty, wealth, and honor, and dexterity. Mars meeting the ram at the time of birth gives courage, fierceness, a long time. If he meets the bull, riches with courage. With Capricorn, honors, dignities, courage, and power. In a word, Mars increases the influence of the constellations which whom it meets and adds value. Saturn, it gives sorrows, job, illness, miseries, increases bad influence, and corrupts men. Venus gives love, joy, pleasures, increases good influence, and weakens bad ones. Mercury gives wisdom, eloquence, success, and trade, increases or weakens the influences according to the conjunctions. For example, if he meets Pisces, which is bad, he becomes less good. If he meets Capricorn, which is favorable, he becomes better. The moon makes lazy, cowardly, melancholy, sadness, dementia, and phlegmatic natural. Jupiter gives beauty, wealth, and honor, increases good influences, and dissipates bad ones. The sun ascending gives flavor to the princes and has on influences as much as powers as Jupiter. Gemini, Libra, and Virgo give beauty per excellence. Scorpio, Capricorn, and Pisces give a medium beauty. Virgo, Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini give a beautiful voice. Ooh, beautiful voice. Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces give unpleasant and void voice. The other constellations give ugliness. I'm a part of the other constellations. I'm Taurus, bro. What the hell? If the planets and constellations are in the east and at the time of birth, their influence will be experienced at the beginning of life. If they're in the middle of heaven, they will experience themselves in the midst of life. If they're in the west, at the end of it. All right, around 10 more pages, folks. Around 10 more pages. Chapter 3: Visions and Apparitions. Few people will have in the world who have not witnessed or heard about any wonderful event in their family, town, or locality where they reside. Appearances are much more frequent than some believe. He is already a beloved person who after death presents himself spiritually one or more times, already a virtuous person who by divine permission reveals himself to those who invoke or remember him in his thoughts, already finally those who, having harmed another person, receive the order of Supreme Spirit in order to appear to their relatives, in order that they amend the damages caused by him, or in the person to whom he caused them, and demand of forgiveness. The latter are those who are generally named souls in grief, and impede the forgiveness of their fellow men, to be able to rest peacefully in the mansion that the sovereign maker had indicated to them. Apart from these appearances, that we could call Anna, this is to explain it to like the rest of like the what's happening. This chapter is talking about like ghosts basically. It's like apparitional spirits and visions and like kind of like ghostly spirits almost basically. Appearances can be, yeah, spooky, it's crazy, scary, spooky, hilarious, crazy, scary, spooky, hilarious, crazy, scary, spooky, hilarious. Appearances can be natural or provoked. The natural ones are those that, as it has been said, are produced without the person putting anything on their part, is a fact that we could all psychic and psychological, and those cause are those that produced by particular dispositions of our senses, and more especially for the sensations of the imagination that can produce in a case given the phenomenon of double sight. In order to produce the apparitions, it is necessary, first of all, to put into play a powerful will and make the imagination constantly worried and the idea of the spirit to be evoked. The slightest distraction would make the desired appearance impossible at all. On the other hand, if we can concentrate our imagination well on what we propose, the result will not be expected, since the spirit will be necessarily attracted by a magnetic current that develops between it and the person requesting its appearance. It can be said, therefore, that the people of clear intelligence, great faith, and powerful will be able to see him, which they will not get distracted or obtuse for reasons they will not be able to concentrate the mental work that is required. As a demonstration of that truth, there can be an infinite number of cases that have occurred to people who, because of their affections and feelings towards loved ones who have already died, by dint of thinking about them and constantly carrying their imagination, have come to get them to appear in spirit, or in the same figure they had when they lived among them. We will not end this chapter without taking care, albeit slightly, of the visions. These are distinguished from the apparitions, and their action is faster, because not will they appear in our sight. When they disappear in the same way as by charm, visions usually appear on rows, crossroads, or dilapidated buildings. Cases of true possession of friars, monks, and burial accompanied are reported, and finally of celestial spirits that appear and disappear with the rapidity of lightning. Toy Pops! Yay! Bear with me, y'all. We got uh freaking we have 8 pages left. Chapter 4: The Infernal Goat. In addition to the red dragon known as the talisman, there's another that is in conjunction with the infernal goat, is mentioned at the beginning of his treaty. The devilish spirits usually take all kinds of forms of both person as well as animals. The most usual, however, are the dragon or goat, although sometimes they are presented in the form of a cat, chicken, crocodile, etc. There is no fear in making the invocations of any other way in which spirits are presented, and the operator must always be prepared to defend both with instrument of art in case the spirit would do him material damage, as with the talismans that can help you to obey them. The infernal goat appears to give pitying souls like souls in sorrow, and the dragon throwing loud howls and broncos, and throwing fire to the eyes and mouth. Despite being so imposing dragon, it is however less afraid of the goat, because this is the symbol of perfidy and deception. The operator must therefore always be on guard not to overcome more or less innocent appearances. The goat represents the dissimulation of the refining cunning, or something it is said, speaking of said animal, that is art and pact with the devil. Chapter 5. Last seven pages left, folks. Transformation of the matter. As digression, it is easy that I conceptualize some of our readers this chapter, but it is not in fact a proposed to end related to the occult sciences, such as the exposition of some discoveries and investigations carried out by sages who have worshipped to nature, studying its phenomena with the perseverance and encouragement that the spirits have granted them. Thanks to his inspired observations, we know that the smallest particles are worlds populated by a multitude of organisms, appreciable only in the microscopic field, and we also know that the earth we inhabit next to what we see in the sky, not more than a pore filled some grain of Saint D from the bottom of the seas of another world, which in turn is stirred deep inside an atom of granite dust from another world, and so on the infinite, which beloved poet of the gnome says so eloquently. We know that matter is indestructible and imperishable, that the only thing that has unlimited existence is the bodies she forms, that the death of beings is nothing more than the transformation of the plasmas that constitute them. Yeah, I had a feeling you have to go get ready for work. Bye, Tyrone. Thanks for hopping in the stream, man. Yo, yeah, thanks for hopping in the stream. I love you, bro. Peace out. This was a good turnout, eh? This is a good turnout. That a corpse is the end of a life and the origin of countless of them. Because its decomposition is the means in which the worms generate or the materials that made it happen to enrich the plants facilitating their development. We know that nothing that exists is useless and that everything is so intimately linked that if any of its elements were missing, the universal imbalance would make us succumb. We know that everything is a chain whose links mesh in each other. Sounds like I like I like this baseline doctrine of like the ending portion of the text. I like this a lot. We know that everything is a chain whose links mesh in each other, which revolves around the orb occupying successively all the points. Thus, the water that falls in the form of the rain to the outer layer of the earth, after penetrating its sign, becomes steam and it becomes clouds to finally rewater the soil. We know that the body is composed of molecules formed by groups of atoms. They are inert, immutable, and indestructible. Are, pierce through our bodies through breathing and food, renew the tissues, being constantly replaced by others. So it can well be said that in a few months the human body is completely transformed, and neither in blood nor in flesh, brain, and bones is there a single atom of those that nourished us months before. As this work is repeated in all organisms, it turns out that whatever served today's food for one person has previously served another and will serve, later always in constant transformation to nourish new beginnings. Lamarck, Darwin, Haeckel, Messiaen, Kant, and other philosophers endowed with deep wisdom by superior spirits made us know curious and wonderful secrets. The latter explains that in principle the entire universe is nothing other than immense gas mass at very high temperatures. Who is this by? The millions of stars that occupy the space today were born by virtue of the general rotation movement, during which the masses that were somewhat more solid or more condensed than the rest of the chaotic matter acted upon it as centers of attraction. Thus, the primitive gaseous mass was divided into many other secondary ones, each of which is retained as a rotation movement and took, thanks to it, the shape of a spheroid separating from its rings, which marked the orbit of future planets and so on. Because of the increasing cooling that the stars were subject to, they went from the gaseous state to the bodies in fusion. Then they condensed and cooled further. So talking about like scientific creation process right here. Okay. We know that the generation, according to Haeckel, has been carried out by heterogeneous or by the combination of the elements, resulting in the formation of ways in which we conceive that more complex organisms were born. Then there is living beings such as bees that reproduce by parthenogenesis. Okay, so bees asexually reproduce. Okay, thank you for letting me know about that. Good morning, Cyprian. But it is that do not require fertilization of the male to produce their offspring, as are engendered at the expense of the ovules of the mother. There are others, particularly in the plants, which have both sexes and reproduce on their own. There are some, like the palm trees, that need to reproduce and bear fruit through the cooperation of trees of different sexes. That the bottom of the seas where sunlight do not penetrate is illuminated relatively like the surface, thanks to phosphorus that all the fish have in large quantities. We know that if A certain amount of water is collected in a tank and left at rest for a while. Go- okay, that's definitely error. They will not take long to appear, not only in fusoria but larvae and microbes, proving finally that the generation is carried out all times, which is not well considered. More of an infinite transfers the matter undergoes. We would never finish referring the advances that are due to the great science granted to the human creatures by the magical power of the elevated spirits or by the enlightened intelligences of never well exalted gnomes. Last 2 pages, folks. Last three. Yeah, last three. Chapter 6 of ecstasy or abstraction. The phenomenon known as ecstasy is very common in those people who, having the imagination alive, are however susceptible to being suggested. Ecstasy is generally produced by the magnetic influence of the spirits that work upon us. It may be partial or total, being the first the person that can have his imagination abstracted in some way from everything that surrounds him, but nevertheless he perceives the sounds and everything that happens in his side, along without paying attention to it. When the ecstasy can be considered total, it is when the subject does not realize any of what happens around him. In this case, it can be considered that the person loses up to sensitivity. Among the Chinese, Indians, and Arabs, it is very common to find people in such states of abstraction that they can be punctured with a needle without giving signs of sensitivity. According to science, ecstasy is produced by cerebral exaltation, which can be determined by the ingestion of narcotics, moral influence, hypnosis, or religious superstitions. During the excess, the body remains immobile and sensitive to the most vivid pains, burns, punctures, lacerations, etc. Sometimes it also manifests in convulsive moments and hallucinations of the ear or sight, resulting in perceived noises of voice, music, etc., or of an unknown object in appearance or scene. Mystical ecstasy can determine the apparitions of saints or devils in a true real way according to the figures of which each one is present in their imagination. And this only obeys supernatural causes produced by good or bad spirits that surround us continuously. Chapter 7. Why does God allow the devil to torment creatures? For the stubborn man to blame, serve as terror to example to other men. For those who are not all bad receive punishment in this world for the faults they commit. For the person to be punished by the devil, try to recognize God and be humble himself. For punishment of faults makes and seek amendment. For men to correct themselves by seeing through their eyes the truth of divine justice, so that the great power of God can be appreciated. To show the great holiness of some creatures, to increase the merit of still creatures by returning them to the right path, to purify more in every way, for creatures to have purgatory in this world and correct themselves, seeing that from so many evils, so many goods can come out. And that's the end of it. I don't agree a lot with what those statements are on why God allows the devil to torment creatures, but yeah, I think that was a fun read. What do y'all think of the text? That was a fun read. That was a fun read, for sure. I had a decently fun time reading that, actually. 100 minutes. It took us 100 minutes to read that text. We're doing this all in 100 minutes, folks. What's that like? Obviously, we skipped through a lot of parts, but I'm gonna be doing a deep dive into this text pretty soon. Yeah, that's the stream, y'all. I don't know what else to say. That's the stream. So now doing the outro portion. My name is Ken. I'm the host of the Ikwan of Stahabar, the Brethren of Gold, and we read the Grimoire of Saint Cyprian. Oh, I don't know if I just heard my stomach growl, but I'm gonna take that as a sign for me to get some food. So, thank you all so much for watching. I love every single one of y'all for being a part of the stream journey, being a part of the process of getting some traction towards the videos. I'm gonna go do the LBRP now. Bye. Love y'all. Peace.